To Sunday Night Stock Market Futures Live. This is Bob Desmond of the Contrarian Trader, and welcome. Thanks for spending your Sunday night with me. We're going to let the futures markets settle down here a little bit. What we're going to do first is we're going to talk about the members mastermind group, the inner circle. We're going to spend about a half hour, 45 minutes talking about the markets overall, and then we're going to segue with members over into that private session, and that's where I discuss the charts that our members are looking for feedback on, and if they have questions with regards to stocks that I'm watching or that we're holding, they can ask me one-to-one. It's a one-to-one session. I get a lot of value out of it because I get to know my members a lot more closely than I do by email or in the past. So it's a really great session. I think that they get a lot out of it as well. But before we go segueing into that session, I want to talk about the headlines that are coming out over the weekend, and they're not good. I always talk about geopolitical risk, and that's one of the reasons why we hold such a large position in the gold miners and in silver, or building a position in silver. And I want to talk about Hong Kong. I then want to talk about the market and its valuation, and I want to talk about the weed stocks. The weed stocks have been getting killed of late. We're going to go over a few charts of the weed stocks. We're going to go over MJ, the Alternative Harvest ETF. Then we're going to talk about Kronos Group and CGC, Canopy Growth. So stick around. We have a lot to go over. Again, we're going to let the futures settle down here somewhat. We'll come back. We'll see how things are panning out. And let's get to the headlines that could quite possibly move the markets. So first up is going to be Hong Kong. All right, so Hong Kong is a major headline. Hey, Colton, how you doing, brother? Son, good to see you. Hope your weekend is great. Hong Kong. This headline came off of Zero Hedge yesterday, and I said, "Oh boy, get ready. This is the beginning here." Chinese soldiers deployed onto street of Hong Kong to help clean up. Good luck there. And here's a pretty picture, a video of the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, going in to help the pro-democracy protesters. Good luck with that. So fast forward to earlier today. Hey, blockchain. Happy Sunday Eve to you. Fast forward to Sunday night, or Sunday afternoon, I should say. Hong Kong police giving green arrow for lethal force as student rioters use firebombs and arrows. Things are heating up really fast over there. And then when you fast forward over into, I could send out these links if you like. Let's pop this one in here. This is the one from yesterday. And then only a short while ago, we had another one that came out. And this one here, this is really where it's really begin to heat up. Hong Kong police storm into university after a violent standoff with student rioters. And I know that many of you may be out there saying to yourself, what difference does this make to the stock market? Why do I care? Oops, I sent the wrong thing. That's the headline. Let me send the URL over. And your question is a fair question. What does it have to do with the share price of Apple or whatever on the New York Stock Exchange going into the week? It has a ton to do with it. Markets do not like uncertainty. And the Chinese apparently feel that they need to act fairly quickly because their biggest concern is these pro-democracy protests spreading over into mainland China. Remember, the economy there is under a lot of pressure. Q3 numbers out of their economy are not good, very, very poor. And when you have pro-democracy protests over in Hong Kong that could quite possibly spread over into the mainland, it becomes untenable. And what adds fuel to the fire is this, when it comes down to what does Hong Kong mean to mainland China? And I'm going to summarize this. I can get long-winded, so I figured let me get a clear and concise explanation. So this is off of Explainer. How important is Hong Kong to the rest of China? And I'll forward you the link here. Under the one country, two systems formula agreed to as a part of Britain's handover of the territory to China, Hong Kong is guaranteed liberties which are unavailable on the mainland, such as freedom of expression and independent judiciary. What they also get for that is they avoid tariffs. It's basically treated as a separate country. These freedoms give Hong Kong special status internationally, allowing it to negotiate and enter into trade agreements independently from Beijing. For instance, it does not have to pay the tariffs the United States is imposing on Chinese imports. Think about that. What if the Chinese overreact to the Hong Kong protesters? The United States could simply say, you know what, we no longer acknowledge this two-party system, this two-tier system. That would really hurt the Chinese economy if we shut down Hong Kong, if we treat it the same as China. So there's more to it than what meets the eye simply off of zero hedge headlines. There's a lot more going on here. China is weak. Its GDP is not contracting. It's growing less than what it was. They're saying it's 6% now. It's probably less than that. And God forbid, they don't benefit any longer from the independent privileges given to Hong Kong. China has a lot of problems, and God forbid, I don't care. I hope that it does happen, that you have protests on the mainland against the Communist Party. But in the eyes of the communists over there, they certainly do not want pro-democracy protests in Beijing, Shanghai. It'll get really ugly over there really, really fast. And this will spread globally. It will have a negative impact globally. So while it's good longer term, short term, negative for the markets. Mr. D, did your EBM on the spider send you a note? I think it did fire off a note. I'll check it out, Colton. I think it did. I got hit with a couple of alerts late on Friday. I'm not sure if that was one. We'll check it out. All right, so moving on. So this is a concern that I'm having. What I'm expecting here on the Hong Kong news is strength in gold, strength in the dollar. This is when the two trade generally in tandem, when you have geopolitical risk on. And it may be a bit, as long as they keep saying Hong Kong police rather than the PLA, People's Liberation Army, the stock market may ignore it. If you see tanks, Chinese tanks, rolling down the streets of Hong Kong, then it's going to get really ugly really fast. So more to come here on Hong Kong. It's going to be a hot button issue this coming week. Let's talk about the Federal Reserve last week. What were they up to with their not QE? Well, they got more aggressive last week. What they did for the third consecutive week is increase their balance sheet above the $4 trillion mark. So we are at highs last seen back at around the beginning of the year. Around February of 2019. So all of this, they reduced off of their balance sheet. They have bought back and then some. So this is just going to continue. They are moving from overnight buybacks, and they're expanding the duration of the maturities that they're holding now on their balance sheet. So expect this not QE to become bigger and bigger, a bigger snowball. I personally think that they don't know what to do anymore, other than to keep the pedal to the metal and see what happens in the long run. Because you saw last week Jay Powell point the finger of blame at Congress, which is, he's right, because of the reckless spending, and the president's included, and all the prior presidents are included here, going all the way back to President Bush, the senior. But unfortunately for Jay Powell, he's the one that's been financing all of the debt that the government has been wanting to print. So, long story short, they have been given independence of the Congress and of the president, yet they haven't used it. So the blame, yes, does lie at the feet of the politicians, but ultimately it's the Federal Reserve that does finance their behavior, and they are enablers, and they are going to keep this going because nobody wants to say they were wrong. Moving on. Headlines. The market's day of reckoning looms. This is from Sven Henrich. He does a lot of tweeting under Northman Trader, and he has some really good charts that he sends out. And this one here is really good in that you have in green the S&P 500, and in blue you have in essence the global liquidity that the central banks are providing the markets. And you could see that they trade in lockstep. And now the S&P 500 with the new goosing of liquidity is, of course, breaking out. We predicted this. We knew this was going to happen when the markets were weakening up. A few months ago, I said, forget it. They are going to rally these markets to new all-time highs. The reason why? The 2020 elections. And sure enough, that's exactly where we find ourselves now. Now, some of you may be out there listening to the CNBC, and I really want to have a conversation. For those of you that are my age and a few years younger or older, you'll remember the lies that were spoken on CNBC Bloomberg back during the market crash in 2000, then again during the financial crisis. And it's going to repeat itself yet again. You're going to hear narratives out there about it's different this time. You'll hear another narrative out there. There's a huge amount of cash sitting on the sidelines waiting to get put to work. I've heard this for decades. It's the same line fed over and over again to a new breed of investor, trader, whatever you are out there. Don't buy this rubbish. It's never different this time. We are being set up for a sucker punch. And if you're thinking that we're going to make the vast amount of our wealth on this new breakout, there is a timeline on it. And it's going to be short-lived. We may make it into the 2020 elections, maybe thereafter, a short while, but after that, I don't want to be long of this market. I think that the smart money right now, like Warren Buffett, he's sitting on a cash hoard that he's never sat on before larger, is going to be looking for bargains. And in my case, in our case, with the members, we are looking to short this market. Perhaps not aggressively now, perhaps not aggressively this month, next month, perhaps not even until after the 2020 elections. But it's coming. As sure as God made green little apples, the greatest short of your lifetime is coming up. And they say that the markets take an escalator up, but an elevator down. And you saw that back in 2000. You saw it again in 2007. This time's not going to be any different. And when they say that it's different this time, stocks are cheap, they're not cheap. They're very expensive. When you take a look at a chart of, this is earnings, gap adjusted earnings of the S&P 500 PE equal to or greater than 20 PE. Here we are at current. This is obviously a histogram, very, very extended. And here you were back at the peak in 2007, right before the drop off. Everything was looking great. We were making new higher highs, stocks going higher. Everything was great. And then all of a sudden, we were taking the escalator up and the elevator down. Pull back. Go back to 2000. We were taking the escalator up and the elevator down. They were saying it's different this time. They always say that. This is for the benefit of the new trader out there. You're listening to people that are salesmen on CNBC. Don't listen to them. This is the reality. Look at the charts. I digress here a little bit. I'm getting a little bit long in the tooth. Let's segue over and into the pre-market activity, or Sunday night futures action, not the pre-market. I'm so used to doing swing trading today live. Hey, Patrick, how you doing, brother? Happy Sunday to you. All right, so we're going to kick things off with the dollar. This is a 4-hour chart. These will all be 4-hour charts until I say otherwise. And we are down at current on the dollar. I'm kind of surprised to see that, given the Hong Kong news. Let's check out gold. Gold is about flat. Very flat. All right, we just ticked up now. Okay. Let's take a look at the price of silver, see if anything's going on there. And before we leave off here, I want to take a look at the weed stocks to see if we have any opportunities there as an extreme oversold trade. So stick around for a little bit more analysis there for opportunities. 50 people. Happy Thanksgiving to you. 50 people. Wow. That's great. Good for you. I hope you had a great time. I'm sure you did. Hey, Randy. I didn't see the riots over in Iran. Really? Good information. I did not see that. Good information. This is why I love the live streams. I have to look into that. Thank you for that, Randy. What were we looking at? Looking for silver. You know, it's amazing. You know, Randy just brought up Iran. I was just talking about Hong Kong. When you take a look at over in Paris this weekend, you had the 1-year anniversary of the Yellow Jacket protest. You should, after this video, you should go over on YouTube, type in 1-year anniversary Yellow Jacket protest. I mean, Paris is on fire right now. It's horrible what's going on over there. Over in Germany, you had the city of Hamburg, I believe it was Hamburg, shut down by the farmers because all they're doing is raising taxes over there for global warming. And think about what's going on down in South America, Bolivia, Argentina. You're having riots break out everywhere, protests breaking out everywhere. And it's basically, for all intents and purposes, it's the same all around. You have the globalists against the nationalists. And the chickens are coming home to roost. ACB? Okay, you're going to be in the members group later? We can go over it. All right, silver is down slightly. So precious metals and the dollar not catching a bid thus far on the news out of Hong Kong. Since Randy brought up oil, let's check out the price of oil. Here, we'll go light Swede. I prefer light Swede. Oil is down slightly, so no impact on oil. And in fact, for those that are long of oil, we're a bit extended here on a 4-hour basis anyway. Oil had a good week last week. Beautiful bullish key reversal bar on oil. So I think that oil is going to move up higher. I think that we have a good possibility of the energy sector breaking out this week. How long have I been trading? Since Pikes Peak was a pimple. 1989, 1990. Long time. My first stock, individual stock, was LOJN, LoJack. and I bought it through, actually, no, that wasn't my first stock. Or was it? Yeah, it was LOJN, 75 shares of LOJN, and I made like 15 bucks on it. I thought it was all the money in the world. So, yeah, about since 1989, 1990, thereabouts. Long time. One person killed in Iran. It's terrible. Bo, so there are people fighting for their freedom and you really care about the economy? Don't want to offend you, but that's just straight up mindset of a capitalist. So Bo brings up a comment here. So there are people fighting for their freedom and you really care about the economy. I care about the economy. I care about people fighting in the streets as well. It's not that I think you can care for both. I care about the people fighting in the streets. I think they're fighting for the right reasons, to be honest with you. So don't take me wrong. I'm not against. I don't know what group you're talking about. The Hong Kongers or the rioters over in Paris. I'm on their side, to be honest with you. I'm against the globalists. So I'm a capitalist all the way. But let's not confuse globalism with capitalism. They're not the same, right? They're not the same. If you think that right now, Bo, that we're living in a free market, I'll take you back to the chart here that I began this off with. This is not the free market. This is the capitalistic or the globalistic system that we find ourselves in now. You have free money sloshing around all over the globe, driving stocks higher. This is not the free market. Stocks with this type of valuation should not exist right now. I predicted that the market would break out, but I've been saying for the entire time that it would break out for all the wrong reasons. I do not agree that this market should be breaking out. It's breaking out for the wrong reason because you have the Federal Reserve, which is fueling the fire of future hyperinflation in this global economy. So I think that you got me. I appreciate the comment. Thank you for commenting on it, but I think you got me read wrong. And let's not confuse capitalism with globalism. They're two different things. Thank you for that, Bo. Appreciate it. Randy, burning off a major bank building in Hong Kong or in Paris? Probably Hong Kong, right? Randy, it is our responsibility to profit off of global issues. A janitor is not condemned for picking up after people. Thus, we are here to pick up after what the others do throughout the world. Yeah, so, Randy, you put it appropriately. You know, it was Iran. You know, you have a group of people over in Iran, the young people, the younger generation that are yearning for a Western lifestyle. And I sympathize with them. I really do. So it's the government. It's these governments these small groups of people that are just keeping their thumbs down on society. And it's not just in Iran. It's not just in Hong Kong. Let's face it. You're seeing it right here in the United States of America. You're seeing it in Canada. You're seeing it with Macron over in Paris. It's global. It's global right now. And I forgot what I was just about to say. Oh, Randy's comment. All right, so is it wrong for us to profit from an apocalypse that is probably going to happen? No, I don't think so. If somebody hands me a $10 bill and says it's yours, take it. I'm going to take it. You know, I'm going to take this chance to the downside with some risk, but I'm going to take it because with that, when it comes to hyperinflation, you're going to need every penny possible when this market really begins to break down in earnest. So I'm not going to be ashamed to profit from the downside. Iran is where they were burning the bank. All right. Our prayers to the people over there. Really. The government, I really don't care too much for. Hopefully they get toppled. All right, so let's take a look at the Philadelphia 667. You're my first Twitch comment. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. All right, so let's go back to the 4-hour charts, the futures. Let's take a look at these stock market futures. Let's go with the Russell first. I still have a short position on the Russell 2000 for disclaimer purposes. And the only reason why I haven't covered that short position is that we haven't broken out yet. The Russell 2000 is lagging the overall market. Now, the Russell 400 broke out last week and is doing well. I don't know if I have a chart up here of that. So I may be forced to cover as the small caps begin to rally, if they do rally. Yeah, I don't have that chart up here of the 400. But the Russell 400 began to break out last week. The S&P 500 is down slightly. We left the week a bit overbought relative to the third standard deviation Bollinger Band on a 4-hour chart. So a pullback is likely tomorrow morning. That doesn't mean that we're going to crash here. So longer term, it appears as though that this market is going to continue to the upside. Let's take a look at US dollar versus Japanese yen. BTC bullish, falling wedge, but still looking rough. Opinion, please. Okay, yeah, we'll go over Bitcoin. All right, so the yen is stronger than the dollar right now. You had Vladimir Putin out over the weekend calling for the collapse of the U.S. dollar. Given the way that they're buying up gold over there, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see the guy right. He's talking about a guy buying his book. I mean, if the dollar collapses, he's going to make a ton of money on his gold position. Let's take a look at the bond market. Let's go with the 10-year. All right, so moving into the new trading week, expect some speculation that the Federal Reserve is going to start buying up longer dated maturities. Watch for a breakout here on the 10-year Treasury bond. This is not the yield, but the bond. Yeah, gold is flat. Yep, nat gas down. Let's take a look at nat gas since you brought it up. So we're seeing some money move into the bond market. A little weakness in stocks. Let's go back to gold for a moment. Yeah, gold's flat. Let's bring up nat gas. It's off the lows of the session so far. It's in a trading range here. It's very quiet tonight. Very, very quiet. Not much moving here at all. All right. So let's move on to the weed stocks. First, we'll take a look at MJ. This is the Alternative Harvest ETF. And you could see that on a weekly basis, we are taking it on the chin. UGAZ under 15. All right, we'll bring up that chart, Patrick. So last week, MJ really took it on the chin. It looks as though we are breaking down to new lower lows here. But when I see charts like this, I get excited because, you know, you have the baby getting thrown out with the bathwater, and I understand that the revenues, earnings are not good for these companies, but at some point in time, shorts will have to cover, and we'll be there looking to take advantage of that short squeeze. So I don't know whether or not it'll be on the ETF or on individual names. I can tell you right now that early this coming week, we will not be buyers of this chart here, this symbol here, MJ, because it looks as though we're going to make a new weekly low. I don't know if we have any monthly data here to overlay. Let's check it out. we have a bit. Not much in terms of monthly support below. This chart is not awe-inspiring. I would avoid these shares like the plague right now until we begin to see on a daily basis RSI down below 20. And then we'll give it some consideration. At this point in time, I would be looking at MJ down here. I think it may rally off of this third standard deviation Bollinger Band, but I think that rally is going to get sold into by shorts. So I would not be a buyer here longer term, or buy it on a bet that you're going to see a short covering rally. I think that we could quite possibly move down to this lower band of support at current, which is at, let's say, 14 bucks per share. Nowhere near oversold enough for my taste. Let's bring up Kronos. We've gone over this one a couple of times in the past. Kron, C-R-O-N. Yeah, Kronos Group. I was going to type in Kronos. We had an alert fire off on here. Let's get rid of that one. All right, so we are trading right at the third standard deviation Bollinger Band. Let's go to a weekly chart first, see what the setup looks like. We broke down and closed below support on a weekly basis. I think that we're going lower into the new trading week, but we're going to be looking for that capitulation sell-off on either MJ, CRON, or CGC, Canopy Growth, and possibly look to get long of those trades. But we must see RSI down below 20. I want to see blood in the streets, people just capitulation selling, and then we'll look to step in and buy up those positions. So CRON will probably move lower this coming week. And we'll probably head down here to a 5 handle on CRON. I'm not going to be the least bit surprised to see an overshot to the downside below the support level. Then we'll look to get long on a recapture if we do finally reverse and recapture on a weekly basis back above the support level. But that's exactly where I think we're going, to a 5 handle on CRON. CRON daily basis closed down below support. In all probability, we are going lower here. RSI nowhere near attractive enough for us to go putting our hard money to work just yet. So what I want to do is this. I want to go back to, let's stay on here for a moment. I want to go back to weekly chart. CRON weekly support hit. All right, so I'm making a note to myself that this trade here is a possible extreme oversold trade and a reminder to check the short interest. I only care about positions in the weed sector that have extremely high short interest, because once they become extremely oversold, I want to take advantage of the squeeze, the short squeeze to the long side, because you're going to make a lot of money in a very short period of time if you buy right. If you buy disciplined, you buy at support, and you build a position in increments. And I'll walk members through this on our private group sessions. We'll keep this alive for 2 weeks. We're good to go here. Set it and forget it. CGC. Patrick, I didn't forget about, hey, Denny. CGC, I'm bringing it up right now, brother. Patrick, I didn't forget about Bitcoin. I'll go over Bitcoin for you. All right, Canopy Growth looking very similar to Kronos. So we had broken out a short while ago. Then we rolled over. Stokes are rolling over on a weekly basis. We closed out the week last week at the lows of the week. We're going lower here. I think that what we're going to do is we are coming at a bare minimum down here. 13 spot 43 on canopy growth. That doesn't mean it can't have an oversold rally before it hits that level, but I think that that's where we, in all probability, are going. Okay, so we're going to keep this active again. 2 weeks. I think that's where we're going. 1343 at a minimum. We'll quite possibly overshoot to the downside. We'll watch for a reversal and look to get long. Now, the good news with Canopy is that we have historical support below. And that's a good thing to have because you know where your reserves are. You have reservists out there in battle gear ready to help support your position. And if you have shorts that are looking to cover, in all probability, they will do it on a defense of a historical support level. So that's why we're looking at the weekly charts. Now we'll drill down to a daily chart. And the daily chart, we may pop here. We're leaning into the third standard deviation Bollinger Band. I wouldn't buy off of that, though, because all it needs to do, it doesn't necessarily, to alleviate this quote-unquote oversold condition relative to the third standard deviation Bollinger Band, all it needs to do is trade sideways one day. And then it continues downward. I wouldn't trade off of the Bollinger Bands that way. What I would do is I would wait for historical support to get hit. If we hit, let's call it 1438 to 1420 within the next day or so, you may get a bounce, but I think that we're going to sell off even further, and we're coming down here to a 13 handle. Let's see how we closed out the day on Friday. Use a 2-hour chart. Yeah, I don't think there's a floor here yet. I think that we're going to move lower on canopy growth, and all these weed stocks are in big, big trouble. If you thought last week was bad, I think that you're just beginning now to see the beginning of the end of the sell-off. So last week was butt ugly. It's probably going to be butt ugly this week, but soon you're going to see buyers out there. You're going to see support levels hit, and you'll see bids move in. And you look for downgrades. You want to see downgrades, right? That's actually going to be good news. And if you see a reversal off of the lows of a day when you had a downgrade, that's a bullish event. That's a tell. So I'll be looking for signals like that. So Denny, I hope that answered your question. I'm short-term bearish on CGC. However, I think that in the next several days, we're going to have an extreme oversold trade to the long side off of CGC. Would I short it? Nah, not enough reward for the risk I'd be taking on here. But I would definitely look to get long of it at historical support. We'll talk about it further, though. And with that, let's do a quick recheck. I want to check out the dollar in particular. I'm not going to pay too much attention to the S&Ps right now because they left the day overbought last week. You're welcome, Denny. Dollar's still weak. I'm rather surprised at that. The dollar should be stronger, and it's not. That's a tell. Gold is picking up steam. That I expected. So this is going to be a volatile week, folks. I just feel it in my bones. Remember, for those that are new to trading, Go back, replay the beginning of this video. It's not different this time. The thugs on CNBC will tell you it's different this time, and it's not. Remember, the people that you're listening to are slick back, well-dressed salesmen that all went to Ivy League schools. They hang out together, they know each other, and they want to be invited to cocktail parties. If they want to get invited to those cocktail parties, they will toe the line, and they will speak the narrative that they're supposed to be speaking. Other than that, if you want to know how to trade this market, learn to read the charts. Members, we're going to go into a private group session. I'm going to send out an email link. We'll get started at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time sharp. Expect that email in your inbox within the next 10 minutes or so. And members, I'll see you there. Everybody else, thanks for joining in. I appreciate you spending your Sunday evening with me. And if you have a question, leave a comment below. If you haven't already done so, it really helps me out if you give a like on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, get alerted to when I send out future live streams. And Twitch, I have my first Twitch comment today. Whatever you do over on Twitch, like, follow, can you please do that there? I don't know it yet. And if you watch this on Twitter, retweet, give me a like over there if you could. Everybody have a great night, and I will... Oh, Bitcoins, blockchain, thank you. I didn't forget you. I almost did. Okay. Let's not use the 4-hour chart here. We're down slightly. Let's pull back on a 4-hour basis. Oh, it's weekly basis. Duh. Why is this looking like this? Let's go to Bitcoin on stock charts. I'm having an issue here with... We'll do Bitcoin US dollar. I don't like this setup. I'm frankly very concerned about Bitcoin right now. Let's throw some lines up here, and I'll illustrate what I mean by what I don't like about this chart. Yeah. Last week was not a good week. There are a couple of positives here. So not completely negative. I just don't like the price action of last week. All right, so I threw a lot of stuff up here. I will walk you through what I am seeing here, negative and positive on Bitcoin. Let me just finish this off and we'll talk about it. Okay. All right, so first off, we have RSI continuing to put in lower highs. Not good. Why does this not look right? Gold moving up. It was up 80 cents before. Has it moved up further, Patrick? Yeah, these something screwed up in my charts here. Yeah, you see what's going on here with RSI? Strange. Let me try to fix this. I think I may have gone too far here. Okay, let's see if that works. All right. So, yeah, something's wrong with the annotations here. All right, so we broke out on RSI, but we still continue to put in lower highs on RSI. Stochastics are rolling over. That's a concern. And last week we closed down below critical support. I mean, we had a great reversal week here, the week of the 21st of October, but now we are retracing. I'm sure you Fibonacci guys out there would be setting up your Fibonacci retracement levels on this. But what I'm looking at is support. If we make a new weekly low here, blockchain, I think that we're moving down to the 8,000 mark. That's where the next support level is. And should we fail to hold that level, we'll come down and we'll do a retest, a double bottom retest of 7,336.06 on Bitcoin. Now, I mentioned that all was not negative. So I don't like the fact that we broke down below support last week. I don't like stochastics. I don't like the RSI. Now to the positives, okay? The positives. Down volume continues to decline, sequentially week over week. We have ultimate oscillator hooking up here. I wouldn't put much stock into that. I'm going to get to the one that really matters to me most in a second. And it's actually a correlation. I think that we may, just may. It's way too early. It's pure speculation on my part. But if geopolitical unraveling continues like we're seeing right now, that could put a bid under Bitcoin. And if we get that bid, we may have an inverted head and shoulders setup. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. And here is your 45-degree neckline. And with volume dropping off like this, that's a positive. So short term, I don't like Bitcoin. Let's go to a daily chart. This is a monthly chart. Let's just take a look at it first. The monthly chart looks better than the weekly chart. We really need to hold the support level. I'll go to the daily chart in a moment. Now you got me all wrapped up into this. Now I want to do a deep dive on it. All right, so the monthly chart is looking good. I like it. I wouldn't buy Bitcoin right now based upon it. But we could be setting up here on RSI for a W formation, a double bottom setup. Stochastics, they're still holding the 50 level. They've pulled back off their highs, but still holding the 50 level, and they're beginning to flatten out. Now, price action is not good this month. And it was good last month, not great, because we didn't close at the highs of the month. And this is what I forgot to do. What I'd be looking for here, it is there. Something's wrong with the annotation tool. Before I try to re-upload this, take note of this upper band of resistance. I need to see a close or a rally up and through this upper band of resistance at, let's call it the 9,000 level. Or a pullback and a retest of support, and I'd scratch this looking to get long of Bitcoin. I've never had this problem before with stockcharts.com. And of course, it happens live. Yeah, look, that line is gone. They better up their game at stockcharts.com because you have these guys, Trend Spider, nipping at their heels. All right, daily chart. All right, so on a daily basis, what happened on, we'll try this annotation again here. What happened on Friday was what you call a doji formation, a sign of indecision. We need to hold this support level here at 83.93 spot 39. If you're looking to get long of this, you need a number. I would look to buy it on a close above 8,600 with a stop right below. Let's use 8,500, but below this support level, I would look to stop out of the trade. But I would be a buyer on a close above 8,600. Look to buy more on a weekly breakout. I'm not loving Ultimate Oscillator rolling over here. So the safest trade is to wait for a rally and a close above that 9,000 mark on a monthly basis. Watch for a monthly breakout. You're welcome, blockchain. I wouldn't short it. I wouldn't short Bitcoin. I think that you have, from a short-term perspective, this is the reason why I wouldn't short it, is that it looks like you have a defense here of the, let's call it 8,400. You have a defense there. And you had a doji formation on Friday. That means that you have a bit of indecision, a bit of a tug of war between bulls and bears, and you may just get a spike higher in the coming days. Does it hold that rally? I don't know. All I would care about right now, if I were looking to buy Bitcoin for the long term, is a monthly breakout above 9,000 on Bitcoin. That would be my signal to get long or to avoid if it doesn't break out on a monthly basis. So those are my thoughts. All right, members, let's segue over and into the Inner Circle group session. Expect that email in a moment. I'll see you there. Thanks, everybody, for joining in. And again, if you could hit that like button on YouTube, I'd appreciate it. Share with a friend. And everybody have a great trading week. Have a profitable trading week as well. Take care. Have a great night.